Okay, so here we are with the Highland cow. He looks super cute. We got a bell with this kit. We got safety eyes. Safety eyes are easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the yarn from the center of this skein instead of in the middle. This is the end that's available. Since this is a new one and I haven't really demonstrated before, even though it's kind of a silly demonstration, I'll just show you how to find the inside one. It's easier to unravel when you have the inside one. So you literally just find each end and stick your fingers in there and then just literally feel around. Now I'm not gonna find literally the end, but I'll find a piece and you just kind of pull, and then the end will be in here somewhere. So that's how you do that. Oh, here's the end. So we're gonna start with the head, and our first instruction calls for a chain 2, and then to do 6 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. I do a magic circle when it calls for that, but since this is a new project, I will show you why I do that. So this is color A, our brown. And this is tells us that our right side is what's going to be facing us. That's what this RS is. So I'm going to do a slip knot. So I yarn around my finger, and then I guess I usually do it around my thumb. And then I just take my working yarn through the loop and tighten down. And then I will chain 2, so 1, yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, 2, and then 6 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So this is the loop on my hook. This is the first chain for my hook. This is the second chain for my hook. So we're going to go into here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on my hook for a single crochet. Do it again. Insert, same spot, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook for 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, this is what we are left with. You can see that there is a hole there. I don't like that, so I'm going to do a magic circle, or an adjustable ring, or whatever you would like to call it. So I'm going to bring my tail over my finger and wrap it around once, and then I'm going to hold my end of my tail down here with my thumb and my finger. Then I'm going to go under the tail and grab the working yarn and bring it under. This hook doesn't have the best edge there, and twist my hook. And then I'm going to pinch with this hand, and then I'm going to switch to this hand, and I'm going to chain 1 to secure it around the loop. I lost a little bit of my loop there, so I'm just going to pull this up carefully. Okay. And then we're just going to do 6 single crochet into this loop. So yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we can look back and find our first stitch. So this is our first single crochet here. So 2, 4, and 6. This is our first one here. Tighten that up, and you see no hole now. And then next row, oh, we are going to join. Okay, so we're going to join in this one. We're not just working in the round. So I'm going to join to the first, or to the beginning single crochet. So this one here, I'm going to go under both of these loops so I can slip stitch to it. And then I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop immediately through the loop on my hook for a slip stitch. Okay, so we joined to our beginning single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 single crochet in each stitch around, and we're going to join. So our first single crochet that we're going to work into is the one that we joined to. So this little bit here, this is where this is the rest of our stitch that we're working into. We're going to go into the same spot, and this on this side, okay, this is our chain, this is our slip stitch to join. So every time we come around, there'll be a little stitch here that will be our slip stitch to join, and we won't work into that or into our chain for that matter. So right here into this same spot, we're gonna insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook for a single crochet, and then into the same spot again, we're gonna do the same thing. So that's 2 single crochet in this first stitch. That's an increase, and we're going to do one of those in each stitches around. So insert into the next here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook, do that twice. Our next stitch here, our next stitch, we should have 12 stitches at the end of this row. So now here we are back to the beginning, and we have what looks like 2 stitches left, but this is our slip stitch to join. This is the last stitch of our round. So slip stitch, and then the chain gets kind of crooked, and that's kind of how you can tell where the chain is, and then the one before that is our slip stitch, and sometimes that gets pretty small as we go along. It might not be as visible, so don't accidentally skip the actual last stitch because that one gets smaller. So now we'll count our stitches. So this is our join, and this is our chain. So here's our first stitch of the round. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and that's as many as we're supposed to have. And now again, we're going to join to our first single crochet, which is these two loops here. Pull up a loop, and then pull that through the loop on your hook right away. And each one of these is the top of one of our single crochet. And that's how you count your stitches. Okay, so next row, we have a set of brackets. So we're going to first chain 1, and then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, which will be the same stitch that we joined to, and then 2 single crochet in the next stitch for an increase, and then we are going to repeat what's in these brackets 6 times around. So chain 1, and then in this first stitch here, we're going to single crochet, and then in our next stitch we're going to do an increase, so that's the stitch right here. So we will do 2 single crochet in 1. Then we'll repeat that instruction. So in the next stitch we'll do another single crochet, and then in the next stitch we'll do 2 single crochet, and you repeat that all the way around, a total of 6 times. I'm going to go ahead and finish this row out and untangle this little mess, and I'll be back. Okay, here we are back at the end, and when you have a pattern like this repeating in brackets around, unless stated otherwise, you should end on whatever the thing in the brackets ends. So that's a way, if your intervals work out, then you probably have done the stitches in your row correctly. So this one was first a single crochet, then 2 single crochet in 1, so we should be ending on a 2 single crochet in 1. So here's our last stitch of the round, here's our join, here's our chain, and this one, I just did 1 single crochet, so now here's my 2 single crochet in 1. Some of this stuff I've definitely said before, but as this is a new one, I want to make sure that. So the other thing that I want to point out before we move on is that you can look, if you look at your work, you can tell by looking, once you are become familiar, which stitches have 2 in them. So if you need to count or you've lost track or something. So here we have this little hole here, and I'm kind of stretching this out a bit, and I can see that I have 4 loops worked into this, and each single crochet makes 2 of those, 1 set. So this is 2 single crochet worked into 1, right? And then this one next to it, here's my stitch down there in the center. You can see I only have 2 loops worked there. So now looking at this, I can just pick out, okay, there's my increase, there's my increase. You learn to recognize it and you'll be able to count those. Anyway, now we're joining. Well, before we join, we'll do a quick count. So here's our first stitch of the round, because this is our chain 1. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So we're going to join again with a slip stitch to the first single crochet. Okay, eventually we're going to. Of the round, and move on. So the next row is going to be similar to what we just did, except this time first we're gonna single crochet in 2 and then increase. So I did my chain 1, don't forget your chain 1, and then I'm gonna insert under the same stitch here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops on the hook. That's 1 single crochet, then another single crochet in the next stitch. So it's 2 single crochet and then increase in the next. So 2 single crochet in 1, and we're repeating that around. So we're working a set of 3 stitches of our previous rounds in this one. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet in the next. So we're going to repeat that around. So I'll finish this row out and I'll be back. Okay, so here we are at the end of this row. I ended on my 2 single crochet in 1, and now this is my slip stitch to join. This is my chain 1. This is the first single crochet of the previous round, so I'm going to slip stitch to this. Well, now I'm going to slip stitch to this. And then we are going to chain 1, and the next is another step up in the interval, so it'll be 3 single crochet and then the 2. So this is also how I frequently will count these. So in the first stitch here, I'm going to do the one we joined to. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm gonna finish this out around and I'll be back. Oh, and this is, like I said earlier, this is our right side facing us. So that means this is our wrong side, and this is what will be the inside of the cow. This will be the top of the head, the outside that we look at. And while I'm here, I guess I will weave in this end real quick. So let me grab the needle that came with this. Here's our bell and our safety eyes. So I'm going to secure this end. Since this is a magic circle, it's adjustable, that it can work its way loose as you go. So I'm just going to tighten down if it needs to be tightened down, and then I'm going to go under a nearby stitch, and then I'm going to hold this so it doesn't get pulled all the way through, and then I'm going to go under that loop that I just made and use that to knot this down. And then, just for funsies, I'm going to just weave this under and around a couple of stitches for extra security. And then I'll just leave this end in here because we don't really need to trim it. So I will finish this row out and then come back at the end. Okay, so here I split my loop, and you could leave it, but it'll just look better overall if you fix it. So one way to do that is just take your hook out carefully, grab the rest, and pull it up until you're past where your little snag was, and then reinsert and tighten it back down. And that's a way to do that. And this is my second for that increase. And now I'll slip stitch to the first, single crochet, and that row will be done. So that was row 5. Okay, now we have an instruction with rows 6 through 8. So I'm going to write down over here, I'm going to write 6, 7, 8 so I can mark them off as I go and keep track. Now in this case we have an instruction during the instruction for the rows for placing markers for the eyes. So what we're going to be doing in rows 6 through 8 is just single crocheting in each stitch around. It's pretty self-explanatory, but we are going to place markers for eyes on round 7. So I'll come back for round 7, and now I'll just start with round 6. We're going to chain 1. So round 6, all we're going to be doing is in the first stitch and every stitch around, we're going to insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on hook for the single crochet, and we're just going to do one of those in every stitch around. So I'm going to do row 6 and then come back for row 7. So if you happen to notice while you're working that it's hard to lift your hook or it's gotten tight or whatever, you've probably split the loop that's the top of your single crochet, and it can be hard to find where the rest of it is. But in this case, you can probably, well, hopefully see, I've got this little strand here that is kind of separated from the rest of my loop, and that's part of the loop on the ground. So I'm just gonna tighten this yarn over with my finger to get the loop tightened on my hook, and then just nudge it right through there. Now if you don't do that and if you leave it, it'll just create kind of a tight spot and be a little harder to work in, and it might create a little bit of a distortion in your work. So we're at the end of row 6, and here we have an example of what I was saying, where this join stitch just, you know, can get a little smaller and harder to see, but this is still the join stitch, and then this is our chain 1. This is the last stitch of our rounds. If you were just kind of working, you might think that this was your join, because, you know, it was a little bigger at the beginning, or maybe that's just my attention, I don't know. So I'm gonna join to the first stitch, and then so for row 7, so we're gonna do our chain 1. Then it has the instruction to place markers as follows. So single crochet 11, place marker, and when it wants you to place a marker, unless it specifies otherwise, it's just you place it in the top of the stitch you just worked. So I'm gonna single crochet in this first one. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I split my loop. 8, 9, 10, 11. We will double check our count. So back here, this is our chain, this little sideways one. So here's our first stitch. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So we're going to place a marker into this stitch here, the top of the stitch, and then single crochet 6, So in the next stitch right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we will just leave these markers here. And they will mark the spot where we are gonna later place our eyes. Now I will finish this row out and do the next row of just single crochet in each stitch around, and then I will be back. Another thing is, in general, just tension. I'm starting row 8, by the way. You want to have even tension, and with things like this where you're going to be stuffing them, you don't want the stuffing to show through, so you want small holes. So if I was, each stitch I do, so I'm going to do this first one. After I do the stitch, I just kind of tighten down a little. I just pull up with this finger just a little and tighten down a little. Just a tiny bit. Now, if I was doing this with, say, uneven tension, I will show you. You want to be aware of your tension, and you want to know. Okay, so here I have some stitches where I have this kind of looser one here, then I have like real small ones here, and then over here again a slightly looser one. You want them all to be really the same size and tightness if possible. So that's just another thing to look out for, especially if you're new, because tension can be that kind of difficult. You want the yarn to be able to go pass through your fingers pretty freely. You don't want it to be feeling like you're having to pull to get it through. You want to hold it lightly enough. And like I said, since this is something where we're going to be putting stuffing, each one I'm just tightening a little bit once I do the stitch, so that they're all going to be the same size and they're all going to be close together. I'm going to finish out this row. I'll be back. I lied, I'm back already. I think this is the first time that we've placed markers and then like left them there for marking a place. So just in general, it's the same as working a single crochet, you know, normally. You just have to be aware of the marker. So I'm going to just hold it to the side so that it's not in my way, insert under the stitch, and just perform a single crochet like I normally would. And then I'm going to move it to the front and hold it down over here so that it's not in the way when doing our next one, and so that it's still visible. Like if I move it to the back, it's not the end of the world, but it'll be kind of inside our work or behind it or whatever. So I'm going to move it to this side and then just hold it there while I go into the next stitch, like so. And then it'll just sit in that stitch mark in that spot. Now I'm going to finish the row and be back. Okay, so row 8 is done. Let me mark it off. Don't forget to mark off your rows as you go along. And you may notice you have kind of this little ridge that's visible and that you can feel it. That's where you're joining each row, and it doesn't really, you don't really get rid of that. That's just how it looks, but that's why normally you would just position it, and this one did it already for us with these markers. You just position it to the back, and that's, you didn't do anything wrong. That's just how that looks. Okay, so now we are going to start decreasing. It's going to be similar to what we did before with the increases, where we're going to have that interval of single crochets and then we're going to have the special stitch, but in this case it's a decrease. So I've chained 1, and in this one we're doing single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then a single crochet 2 together, or a decrease. So in the first stitch here, our join, we're going to do our 1 single crochet, 2, 3, and then to make a decrease, just going to insert under the first single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then instead of finishing that, we're going to insert under the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Now, after you make a decrease, if you don't watch your tension here, since this is leaning over to the side, if I just kind of stretch this loop over to get into this stitch and then just worked it normally, I'm gonna end up with kind of a bigger loop and a bigger gap there. It's not a huge deal, but I like to just make sure I'm keeping the loop on my hook tightened down. So I'll insert and keep this tension a little tighter, pull up my loop so that we have a smaller space there and that our loop is still the same size from the first single crochet after a decrease. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. Insert under the first, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert under the second, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. We're just going to continue that around, and real quick I'll show you. So here is a normal single crochet. We got 2 loops going down around our little bar stitching, or the top of our stitch in there, the bar. Okay, this is our decrease, and you can see it's diagonal basically. Instead of being kind of more like a V, it's more like a, I honestly don't really know, but it's real sideways. It's almost horizontal actually instead of diagonal. So they also are thicker, and you can literally like feel them because they're thicker. But this is our decrease. That's how you can recognize that. It's got more of a horizontal look than our other single crochets here. So I'm going to finish out this row and I'll be back. Okay, I finished that row out. Now I'm just going to join to the first single crochet of the previous round. If you're having trouble finding those, by the way, you can just put a stitch marker in it each time around and move it each time in your first stitch so that you know, to help you differentiate between the chain and the join. Okay, so now we have a row of just single crochet in each stitch around. So I'm going to chain 1, and I will just do that and be back. I suppose I should have said this before, but you want to pay attention and make sure you don't just keep going without a stitch mark. You don't need one in this case because you do have the chain up and the bump up. You could use one. You could put one in the first round every time. That would be fine. But if you're not paying attention, it is possible to just keep working and think that this is a stitch and this is the stitch and just start working in them round. So you do want to be looking for this bump up every time and know that that is your indicator to stop. That's the beginning of your previous row, and that you don't just keep going, because that would not work out. Okay, so what do we got next? Okay, now we are going to do another decrease row, and then we'll have another row of single crochet. So I'll demonstrate this first decrease, and then I'll just do that, finish that row, and then do the next single crochet row, and then be back. So chain 1, this one is single crochet in the next 2 and then a decrease. So single crochet in this first stitch here, single crochet in the second stitch here, and then our decrease. So instead of finishing that single crochet, we insert under the next one, pull up another loop, and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. So we're going to repeat that 2 single crochet and then a decrease all the way around, and then join, chain, and then 1 row of single crochet all the way around. So I'll be back after that. Okay, so we're at the end of that row there, which is row 12. We should have 18 stitches. We haven't checked in a while. So let's check. So we just joined to this one, but this is our first here. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and then this is our join. So we have the right amount of stitches. The other thing that I wanted to say is, if you're going to be having to get up and pause and whatever and walk away, it's a good idea to mark off every row as you go. If you don't want to write on your pattern, you can have a little notebook and just you know, write the number of each row as you finish it. Oh, and decrease rows, I usually just count like the one we just did. I usually just count 1, 2, decrease as I'm going, you know, to keep track. Anyway, so counting rows also is a thing. And so if we turn this over and look at the beginning here, this little center of this, it looks like a little flower, is our first row. Okay, so this, like I said already, is where our join is. It doesn't really matter in this instance, but I'm gonna go to this end of it. So this little intersection is 1, so I'm gonna start here. This is 1, and then this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that is our row count. Now we are actually almost done the head. So this time we are going to do another decrease row where we're just alternating a single crochet and a decrease. So it's just 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, and then 1 single crochet, 1 decrease all the way around. And then after that, we are going to have a couple rows of just single crocheting in each stitch around. So I'm gonna finish out this row, and then I'll do my 2 rows of single crochet in each stitch around, and then this portion of the head will be done, but I'll come back for the end of that row. So I'm at the end of 13, and I just wanted to show you, in this case, my join is particularly tiny, very small, and then this is my chain here. So this was the last stitch I worked into here, and then this is still the first stitch, or the first stitch in my previous round that I'm gonna work into, but they can get quite small. You just gotta look carefully. So now I'm gonna do the 2 rows of single crochet in each stitch around, making sure I chain 1 and mark off my rows as I go. And if you ever, say, need to back up for some reason, or take a stitch out, that is easy. You just take out your hook and then just gently pull this until it's backed up to where you need to be. Don't pull too much or you'll pull out more than you want to, and then I just make that loop a little bigger, stick my hook back in, and I'm good to go. So I'm going to do row 14 and 15 and I'll be back. I lied. So in this case, since we're working like this, if you were holding your work evenly like this, you very well may accidentally work through both sides at once. So I pull the edge I'm working on up as I go around and place my finger there so that I won't go through both, and then as I go around I just pull the next section up like so to prevent accidents. Okay, so here we are. I've joined to my first single crochet and we are at the end of the head. So now it just says fasten off, leaving a tail for sewing. So I'm just going to, even though I just slip stitched, I'm just going to slip stitch in the next stitch and tighten it down decently, tug on that. Whatever that is real upset about something. And then I'm just going to loop this around a couple times. That's sort of my unofficial way of measuring how much I need to sew that on. Grab my scissors and cut that, pull this through, and here is the head. So we will just put that in our bag over here and get started on the body. This is gonna be a little guy, this cow, just saying. Alrighty, body. So color A. In this case, since the head is going to be sewed on, it doesn't matter if we do the chain 2. So we're gonna do it. I bring my tail around my thumb, take my working yarn, pull it through the loop on my hook, tighten down, like so. Tighten that down on my hook. Then I'm gonna hold my tail. I'm gonna yarn over, pull through the loop on my hook for chain 1, yarn over, pull through the loop on my hook for chain 2. And then 6 single crochet in the second chain for my hook. So this is the loop on my hook. This is the first loop for my hook. This is the second loop for my hook. So in here, I'm going to do 6 single crochet. And you'll just be doing them into the same hole. You can do another magic circle if you like. So that's 2, 3. I usually just kind of work around the tail there. 4, 5, 6. Okay. Alrighty. So now we are joining to beginning single crochet. So that's this guy right here. I can count back from my hook if I'm not sure. So 2, 4, 6 with a slip stitch, like so. And then chain 1, and we're going to do 2 single crochet in each stitch around, which we've just done basically in the head. But so this first stitch that I just joined to, insert yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through both loops on the hook, and do that again in the same stitch, and then 2 of those in each of the next 5 stitches for 6 total, which will give us 12 stitches at the end of this row. So I'm going to finish this out and be back. Okay, so here we are at the end of this row. Again, we have our join and our chain, so we're going to slip stitch to the first single crochet of our previous row, ignoring those 2. And then we are going to, for the next couple rows, be doing the increases with the intervals. I'll just demonstrate the first one in each row, and then I'll just finish out the row myself. So we're going to chain 1, and then in this first one we're just going to single crochet in this first, and then an increase in the next, and we are going to repeat that all the way around. So I'll be back. Okay, so this next row, chain 1, and we're just going to do the same, similar, but single crochet in the first 2. So 1, 2, and then increase, and repeat that all the way around. And since this isn't a magic circle, by the way, we don't really have to do anything with this. We could weave it in if we liked, but we don't have to because it's already secured. So I'm going to repeat that around. All right, so next we got a chain 1, single crochet in the first 3. You'll probably notice a pattern. I'm just going up by 1, and then increase in the next. Repeat that around. And now this is our last increase row for now. So we're gonna, oh, not split our loop. We're gonna single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, and then increase and repeat that around. And then after that, there's gonna be rows of single crochet in each stitch around. So we're going to be doing that for rows 7 through 11, which is 5 rows. So I will come back after the end of those, because that's just chain 1, single crochet in each stitch around, and join. So I will be back after row 11. Okay, so I'm about to start my rows. I did a quick, I usually, before I have repeat rows of doing single crochet around, I like to do a stitch count to make sure before I do all those rows of single crochet that I have the right amount of stitches. I have 36, and also I've realized that this is the bottom, not the top like I thought earlier. Not that it matters, either way we won't see the bottom. But yeah, make sure that this, it's gonna want to start curling toward you. You just want it to curl away from you, and I will do these rows of single crochet and be back. Okay, so here I am, end of row 11. And the next set of rows are going to be alternating a decrease row and a row of single crochet around. Now in the head we already did the single crochet in the next 3 stitches, decrease, single crochet in the next 2, decrease, and the alternate. So I'm gonna do this row 12 is single crochet in the next 4 and then decrease, and then I'm just gonna actually probably finish out the rest. It's just a row of doing a single crochet in the next number of stitches and then a decrease all the way around, and then a row of single crochet all the way around, alternating. So you're gonna do 4 decrease and then single crochet around, 3 decrease, single crochet around, 2 decrease, single crochet around, and then alternating single crochet and then decrease around, and then single crochet all the way around. So this same little guy has ended up on me a couple times. Come here. Do you want to be on the ground? Is that where you want to be? Okay. Anyway, sorry. So single crochet in the first stitch here. 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, and just repeat that around, and then a row of single crochet, and then 3 single crochet, decrease, etc. So I think that they've all been demonstrated pretty well, so I'm just gonna probably finish out through those rows and then be back. I decided to demonstrate anyway, so I've done the row of 4 single crochet and then decrease, and the single crochet row after that, which is that row, that was our 13. So 14, chain 1, single crochet, 1, 2, 3, decrease, repeat that around, and then a row of single crochet in each stitch around. Okay, so end of row 15. Now we're starting 16, so chain 1, single crochet 1, single crochet 2, decrease, repeat that around. There was an ant. And then a row of single crochet around. Okay, just finished row 17. And now this row is just a single crochet and then a decrease, alternating around. And I said it earlier, but this cow really is a little guy. So these rows don't take very long, so I'll actually just keep doing this one. And then after this, there's one more single crochet row, and then this guy's the body's be done. So this has been really quick because he's so small. So I'll probably just get this finished like sooner than I thought it would take. So we're just alternating around. This should be our last set here. So single crochet. And then we will, no, we won't split our loop. We will join. So here's our slip stitch to join, here's our chain, here's where we join to. Then chain 1, single crochet in each stitch around. My little jumping spider friend is still here. He's chilling on the blue chair right now. He seems very friendly. Okay. So we should have, I think we get back down to 12. Let me see. It's the last stitch of this round. Okay, that was row 19. Yeah, we should have 12 stitches. So here's our slip stitch to join, here's our chain. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So we are just going to slip stitch to join, and we'll just count that as our fasten off. And then we left a tail on the head, so I don't know why we would leave one on the body. I guess we'll leave one in case they need one for the bell. So we'll leave a little bit of a tail. Where do we think my scissors are? Here they are. We'll leave a little bit of a tail. And that is the body and head done. Okay, so this is what we got. This is gonna be a small guy. There's the body. So next up, legs, arms, ears. You know, it's getting a little warm. I might head inside. I'll probably count this video as done for the day, but I'll probably start recording the next one. But in that case, hope this helps, and see you next time.